Good late Friday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center watching some severe weather impacting parts of our area. Two severe thunderstorm warnings in play. The one for Marion, a pretty rural area. Even the one for Clay and Putnam, pretty rural as well. But I wanted to jump in for it because we are seeing some spots here impacted not too far away from Stark, not necessarily headed towards Stark. We are also seeing what the Weather Service is calling here a high reflectivity core aloft. So just got to watch here for maybe some potential for some damaging conditions here with 60-mile-an-hour winds trying to reach the surface. We have Bostwick, Georges Lake, Kingsley, as well as Barden, Flora Home, Penny Farms, and Caraway under this warning till 5:15. At 4:37, a severe thunderstorm was located 8 miles south of Middleburg, moving southeast at about 20 miles per hour. So going to be watching this potential here in northwestern Putnam and central Clay for a gust about 60 miles an hour in an isolated fashion here. Also seeing some storminess in Putnam that's pretty nasty, and in fact, we're going to go to our other radar because it'll do even a better job here of kind of analyzing the conditions in the region. You can kind of see here we have some wind enhancement in here, nothing extreme, but there is enough in here to go ahead and issue the warning based on an elevated core aloft. You're going to be helping to bring some of that wind down to the surface here ultimately. As we also look down toward Marion, we had a tornado possible tag on this a few minutes ago, but very rural area we're talking about here in southeastern Marion County. At 4:39, a severe thunderstorm located near Juniper Springs is moving south at 20 miles an hour. And we're not really seeing that rotation at this point, according to the Weather Service. Maybe a little something, but I'm not too impressed there with that here this afternoon. So that's some good news. We'll keep our eyes on it. Doesn't mean we couldn't have wind damage, but in terms of that tornado threat, not too impressed. Also seeing maybe some strengthening here near Lusty in that vicinity here. Gotta watch out because you can kind of see a little bit of an enhancement there. Maybe some wind trying to reach the surface into parts of Baker, Columbia, even Union County possible as well. And then we do also have a flash flood warning in the north. I want to pop up a different radar for this. We need to go to the Moody radar for this one because it'll kind of do a better job understanding and helping you understand what's going on down toward the surface there with some of this. Luckily, the rain, we talked about the flooding potential earlier on this area. As I do go ahead now and get that to load on in here, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about up toward the north and toward parts of south central Georgia here with the threat. So here it is. You see the polygon. You don't see much rainfall in there now. It was even weakening. The rainfall was there when the warning was issued. But we were talking about that rainfall really in play there toward Colquitt County earlier on. And actually, some of those amounts we were talking about were maybe even a little bit higher. Our radar was showing the rainfall estimates on one of our modes. They're just 3 o'clock. I mean, an hour after, even just kind of added on there. Some areas may have seen 5 inches. The latest update just came in, and they're talking here maybe even up to 6 inches in the last 2 hours. So some of those amounts we were showing you actually were maybe even from yesterday. They were from today, just coming down that quickly. Our system there doesn't update necessarily that much when it's in a certain type of mode. So I just want to clarify that. Luckily, breaking on up, but you can see here, heavy rainfall is ending, but 4 to 6 inches of rain in the last 2 hours, maybe up to an inch possible there. Additional rainfall as flash flooding is ongoing there across southern Colquitt. So this has been reported by emergency management now as water has flooded portions of Lee Lewis Road. So Moultrie, Riverside, Moultrie Municipal Airport there, Altreville and South Moultrie. Kind of give me that heads up there, but even a little more rain than maybe we were talking about here today. I mean, the storm total amounts are showing that, but that's actually all today. I mean, I'll go ahead and switch that over here in a moment. Let's go over to our other computer real quick. We'll do that. I want to talk about that a little because it's the explosive amounts of rain really in a short period of time. Copious amounts, really the story there. Our Moody site was showing that earlier, and it's just really impressive up that way. I also got some damage reports in other spots here as well. Let me go ahead and check what we had in Tallahassee's chat a little while ago. Had some damage there, thunderstorm wind damage in Colquitt County. Also there, it looks like that was where a large truck trailer blew over in strong winds near J.R. Suber Road and Ellington Norman Road there. And then also maybe even a funnel cloud in that region, not 100% sure on that, and also a tree down on Roundtree Bridge Road. So I'm seeing some different reports come into the chat section here as we look at things. Just trying to give you the latest information on that. And then storm total amounts out toward Colquitt County. I mean, my goodness, let's go over there now. I have that loaded on into the system. and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. I mean, there's a flooding report, large amount of water over Lee Lewis Road, but some of these areas here around, it looks like State Route 33 there, J.D. Herndon Road there as well, maybe 6+ inches. Some of this is showing closer to 7 inches there. And this is actually pretty much, it looks like all from this afternoon's event. So that's a big deal. Luckily, breaking on up quickly. Once that warning got issued, we started to see really that deterioration. But even there was enough rain to add to the threat there when they issued that warning. That's why they did do that there. The National Weather Service in Tallahassee doing a great job as always. But let's go ahead and zoom back out here. You can see out toward the west here. You can see on the edge of the radar side as we look there. But you can see some stronger acts and north of Tallahassee. The 40-mile-an-hour winds possible in that vicinity. Let's go ahead now and switch you on over to other mode again. It's a thunderstorm warning report to Clay and Putnam. That goes here until about 5. It looks like 5:15. The warning from Marion until 5 o'clock. Stronger storm neural Lusty we were talking about. The accent toward the west doesn't look quite as impressive on this mode of the radar, but it's still impressive enough to prompt those significant weather advisories we were talking about. So gotta be cognizant there. Even a nasty storm down towards South Florida. You see south of Palm Beach there on Boynton Beach. I-95, something going on there. We have that tropical disturbance. You might have seen the model data trying to pop something there a little while ago. We'll watch it earlier on in the period. We're going to have drier air because of this. Maybe later on, though, we'll have to watch here for something. We'll see. Some of the models actually, as you can see, one of the models has it going out into the Atlantic. We're not sure what that's going to do. And right now, pretty much the model's keeping this at a low strength, maybe depressing, something like that. If it were to develop, and add to that, only at 40% right now. So that's the good news. Nothing to stress out about. We're not turning all local red for that threat here. I shouldn't have to unless something really explodes on us. I mean, it is a hurricane season, and occasionally you can have stuff do that. But right now, I'm not concerned about that potential here, as I am starting to hear some heavier rain. Sounds like around Stark, trying to fall, maybe just for a few seconds there. That can be the case sometimes, but again, watching things on our Doppler radar there. We are getting now a flood warning for parts of Clay and Putnam until 6:45 over the last hour. You can see some of these amounts starting to add up there, and even more so in Marion County. 3 inches maybe in the last hour out toward Lusty. That's something to watch as well there. Seeing some pretty nasty acts in there. You see up toward Lee County, Georgia, 2 inches in the last hour. Kind of all over the place here, so it's hard to keep up on every individual storm sometime when we're in this scenario. So just kind of have to stick with me here as we're starting to see things come on down here towards some of our different spots. Let me go ahead and check our Moody radar again. We're just switching between radars, switching between things here this afternoon as we get closer to the evening hours here as well. I know we're watching some of the action up toward Leesburg and Albany where gusts of 40 may be possible. Let me go ahead and broaden the view out so you can get the whole grasp of the situation, the full grasp of the situation, rather than a flood advisory for Dougherty County. So we have 3 what you call warnings that would kind of activate things on that weather radio. Flash flood warning for parts of Colquitt County until 6. Severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Clay and Putnam until 5:15, and Marion until 5 o'clock. So watching those situation in Moultrie we've kind of been talking about, so we didn't break in for that. Rural situation from Marion, watching the weak rotation. Wasn't enough though to come on for that potential new active tornado warning. No tornado warning ever in play for that region. And then the third area that we want to jump this because we have so much going on, not too far from Stark, even though right now this isn't going to impact Stark. It doesn't look like. We do need to watch some other acts, and this is moving south here at 20. And we have some of the storminess here kind of drifting on down. We might get lucky and start proper. We'll see, because it looks like more of a Lake Butler type of thing here, Union County type of thing from the Lusty accent maybe, if it kind of continues this trend here as I go back and go forward within our Doppler radar echoes. There's something to watch for them in Lake Butler. We'll watch that for Union County out there off toward the west. And speaking of off toward the west, I do have my camera here we can go to. So let's go ahead and pop that on right now. We'll pop that up looking off toward the west. You can see some of those darker clouds here in the view, maybe even just off the view there or right on the edge of the view. You can see even darker looking skies here, the storage. That's kind of more, if you look up there toward the right edge, that's more looking toward the north and west. And then the edge here, what you're seeing center to the left there, more the south and west here, what we're talking about. So just kind of giving you a little bit of inside baseball there as watching things. You can see some of that kind of coming into view a little bit more now. So again, watching things carefully this afternoon. You can see what's happening here on our camera. I'm going to look at it off screen. I can see a little bit more of this side, the way we have this. And yeah, we're definitely seeing more of that come into the picture here with those darker skies. That's just the edge there of what we're seeing more off toward the north and west, it looks like there. So again, continuing to watch things, having that framed up so we can give you that best viewpoint here, though, with the clarity, with the angles here, so we don't have any issues. Sometimes we'll have some issues with the sun, for instance, so and reflections and things like that. But again, we just want to go ahead and keep our eyes on things. So monitoring the situation carefully as the afternoon does go on here. And we start to approach those evening hours, that rush hour, that evening commute could be problematic for some of you. Don't need severe weather for issues. That light and the heavy rain is enough, definitely enough to cause some problems. So again, we have 3 warnings on the board. The one again, Moultrie, water can be receding there. Fast flooding threat. You see some stronger storms near Cairo, near it looks like Miccosukee there as well. And then as we get off toward north central northeast Florida, watching the 2 warnings in parts of northeast Florida. 449, severe thunderstorm is located near George's Lake, or 11 miles east of Keystone Heights, moving south at 20. Bostwick, Barden, George's Lake, Floraholm, and Caraway under that warning. And then as we look down toward the south here, you can see our next warning on the board, Juniper Springs, till about 5 o'clock. We're watching the threat for some 60-mile-an-hour winds there. You can see the threat, so we'll go ahead and zoom back on out a little bit, though, watching things carefully. Keeping an eye on the situation. Maybe some really small hail there on Lusty. Nothing significant, it doesn't look like, based on the radar echoes, but we'll keep our eyes on things here indeed in the Weather Center as we continue to get the very latest information in here from the National Weather Service. And we'll go ahead and zoom back on out now. Let's see what our Baker County, if I have that, I may not have, okay, I do have that in here. Let's go to the Baker County camera right now, see what that says. You can see some of the darker skies there, Baker County, Florida. Our Baker County High School camera on WeatherStem. I have that in our system. It's kind of telling the story with some of the darker skies there on the board. So I know they had the storms there yesterday, just south of McClenny, really getting to the accent. So I just have to be kind of aware of that as we move away from WeatherStem for the time being. Looks like they've just expired our warning for Marion County, so we're getting the latest information, and now just kind of jumping off that screen here, back it up, go forward, so we're down to 2 warnings, and 1 that's really a warning we would want to stay on actively, because that other warning, not as big of a concern there up toward South Georgia, because that's not a threat really. That's going to get worse here, I would not think at this point there. As we look toward the South Florida getting pretty nasty weather. You see another another severe thunderstorm warning on the board there. Even some weak rotation being noted by the Weather Service in Miami. So something to watch. Not seeing a lot on rotation tracker, but still something to watch down there in South Florida, as we do have our warning, though. Again, as we get down really tight, you see Floraholm right on the edge. We're in pretty rural spots. You'll be able to see that. I mean, we're in really rural areas overall here, which is good. But Weather Service talking in the chat, the storms with heavy rainfall and occasional clouded ground lightning will continue over eastern Marion through about 5:30. So we're going to be watching that, but not severe anymore. Or severe storm at Southern Clay, parts of Putnam, but then a Lusty storm may actually be about the same strength based on what I'm seeing within our radar echoes. So we'll be watching. Yeah, that storm near Lusty is. I might get a warning here pretty soon, folks. Let me go ahead and pop this up. We're seeing a little bit of weak rotation even here. So let me go ahead and go on over. This is right near a Lusty. Not really tight, but I feel like this could get a warning. We are looking 4,000 feet up. Excuse me, mind you, from our radar there at Moody. I'm going to switch to Jacksonville, maybe a little closer. And maybe the reason they're not issuing a warning right now. But let me go ahead and check because it's going to be close here. 3,000 feet, so it is a little bit closer. I wish we had a thing we can just the distances, have them all wrote down, something like that. But even there, we're seeing some weak rotation, though. So let me go ahead. It's not enough for a tornado warning. It may be enough for a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag, though, based on what we've been seeing here over the last day or so with some of these alerts. So just giving that heads up, that might be coming here. They're not telling us that here in the chat or anything, but there's a little bit of broad rotation here in western Baker County. Pretty rural, but we do have a lusty in there, so something to watch there with the winds away and toward the radar. We'll keep our eyes on things as we look down toward the south again. We have our severe thunderstorm warning in play. Not a lot here right now, which is good. Pretty rural areas, so honestly, I might go ahead. I mean, we have other storms. If it wasn't for other storms here, if it wasn't for other storms being candidates for warnings, I'd probably go ahead and go off. But because we have these other candidates here for warnings, I don't want to have to jump off and then have to come back on. So let's write this warning out, because I think there's a decent chance we could get some more warnings here within the next few minutes. We'll have to watch Interlaken. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but at least some clouded ground lightning here on Interlaken, pretty nasty. These winds aren't necessarily strong enough, but we're seeing some divergence. Maybe not enough for a warning there. I think that might, but this storm here looks a little more suspicious to me, near lusty. So we're going to have to watch that carefully, because both radars are showing that weak rotation. So a little bit of divergent winds, maybe not a tornadic rotation, but just some of those divergent winds helping things to reach down to the surface a little bit there inward parts of Baker, or maybe extreme eastern Columbia. But we'll continue to watch that. I do see some more significant weather advisories coming out of the Tallahassee office now, one for Early County. So let me go ahead and get this situated for you. Early County here, as we're looking towards some of this action now until 5:45. I see some of those Alabama counties as well here. You see that polygon popping up, and then you can see our reports there from the action earlier in south central Georgia, a few of them on our screen there, telling the story with the issues. One there, it looks like, as we get down toward parts there of Colquitt County south of Moultrie. Another report there northwest of Cool Spring, and then the one there as we're getting closer towards Sparks. So that accident deteriorated, which is good, but looking up pretty high on these storms, you can see what's happening. That's always before record, but again, watching things carefully within the radar echoes. Let me go ahead and go on in here. Things still are worth watching toward lusty. As we look here over toward Clay County, you do see here the lightning in play as well. See a little bit of something here in far eastern Marion. We talked about a weak rotation earlier. Luckily, that should be out of the viewing area pretty soon, but I have seen a tornado warning pop one time for a very small chunk of southeast Marion, so we have to be on guard. Not that there's an imminent threat, but are further from the radar, so Weather Service may have to just kind of either go on the edge of caution and issue a warning for that, or just kind of let it ride out, because there's not a certain enough, and the population wouldn't really justify. As Ross is seeing a little bit of that weak rotation now off the Melbourne radar. I mean, the tornado threat really isn't very high, but we could get a weak spin up here just based on that tropical environment that we're in. Not really concerned about it, but we are seeing these areas of weak rotation. They're worth watching, because we can at least get some stronger winds down to the surface with these. So that's what I'm tracking there. You see that area I circled. The wind's going in opposing directions here as we're looking north of Pittman, which that's out of our area in Pittman, Altoona there. But going to continue to watch, see how things go with that. As we look up toward the north here around the Jacksonville area, the new radar scan still watching a little something here. Maybe not quite as tight here. I'm going to go ahead and back this up, though, make sure, because it's not extremely tight. It's just there, though, and it's just something to watch. The bright colored, maybe not showing up quite as apparent there, but there's still a little something in that vicinity. We'll watch it, maybe not quite as intense, though. That's what I would go with right now. That's good news, obviously. Just continue to watch things out, because we're only caught off guard here in this scenario. I do see it looks like lawn furniture, trash cans is placed, maybe some solid twigs broken, something to that effect there in areas of Clay County. That's being reported, maybe from the storminess that's moved through earlier. No active warning or no warning was in play there, but again, continuing to watch things. I mean, things can be candidates for warnings here pretty quickly sometimes, so we just have to be on guard. You see some stronger wind around Cairo, Georgia. We'll watch for Tallahassee, 35-40 showing up right now. So something to watch here as we're tracking this. The movement right now, they go off. We'll check this. It's to the southeast of 20. You get some boundaries there. These could either act to form or strengthen some storms, existing storms, or we could just be seeing signs of weakening. We'll have to wait and see, though, up toward the Tallahassee area. I will put this into motion, though, for you to see what's happening now. As we get out toward Cairo, Metcalf, remember to kind of get an idea of the trend line here over the last few minutes, and actually it kind of looks like maybe a little bit less red in there, but it's hard to say. I'm going to go to velocity, because this could help us with some of that inside look at things inside baseball per se. So let me go ahead and get that popped up. Of course, lightning's always a threat this time of year. You don't need me to tell you about that, but to hear that thunder deflecting under each track. And in terms of that wind energy, pretty similar here. Not really seeing much strengthening or weakening with this. Maybe a little strengthening in far northeastern Leon County based on some divergence there. But we'll continue to watch. You see that light in that general vicinity as well. We saw something maybe earlier, but the radar echoes, I know, have some issues sometimes with the overall scenario with the radar. There are some different things that go on, artifacts and that. But let's go ahead and show you Doppler radar once again. Seeing that motion there, significant weather advisory in that region. Let's go back to the Jacksonville site again. You can see here as we get on in here, maybe some action trying to phone him over Bradford. We'll watch that. But let's see here. Little broad something there. Maybe more of a downburst signature. Maybe something in Clay. We'll see. Nothing really impressive in that warning though overall, which is good, obviously. Excuse me. The Weather Service is talking about that broad circulation now over extreme southeastern Marion at 9,000 feet. It might be a little bit tighter below, but it looks sub-severe at this time, so that's good. That's definitely good news. I'm kind of weighing in on that. Let's look here, though. There is definitely some of that circulation, but luckily this should be out of that area here soon because Jacksonville nor the overall area that we cover, they are not included as we look over toward Lake Volusia counties. But you can see that circulation, definitely seeing a little bit of something right on the edge of the radar here. Again, looking further up, the wind's going away from the Jacksonville site toward the Jacksonville site. There's something trying to come together, maybe. But again, you kind of see this here as we track it, maybe out of the area. So that's good. That's good news. Extreme southeastern Marion over in toward Lake County. That's the Melbourne responsibility there, and also the Orlando TV market in full. I know we cover this area, but we don't cover Lake, don't cover Volusia here. But just seeing a little something trying to come together might be something for the Orlando stations to really focus on here, if it were to tighten up. But we'll continue to watch that. Melbourne office hadn't talked about that here in the chat session yet, but I do have that up here. Just keeping an eye on things down that way as well toward East Central Florida as we kind of have things in motion here. I'm going to pause it so we can get a better look at what's going on here overall. Again, you're watching things up toward Clay County, a little bit of something there. And toward Baker, nothing really impressive though, honestly. Let's go back on over. We're going between some different modes here of our Doppler. We're zooming back out, zooming in. We're on the Moody radar right now. So that can help us out with some of this action. Though honestly, it's kind of hard to see too much in here. So let me go over to our broad view. Again, our broad view of the scenario, watching things carefully. Again, if we have these alerts popping up, you'll see those first on Cloud_WDX on Twitter. They'll come out there, and we're able to either post about them or come on here within about 10 minutes, give or take. It just depends. When we're in this random scenario, it takes longer generally to come on because stuff's kind of right on that border for hours and hours sometimes, and then just pop severe. Stuff will pop severe around our area, and then it's just a situation where it's not really dangerous, but it is dangerous for isolated spots. But when we're in the other pattern, stuff can really ramp up quick, and we have to be more on guard because those situations can be more about tornadoes and those more widespread damaging wind threats. So, got to be watching for that. Excuse me, I might go and take a break here in the coverage for a moment, catch my breath, see what's going on with the radar. You see some of the action down toward Palatka, some thunder in that area, thunder toward Lusty there as well. We'll be back here soon with more weather information. Back here in the Weather Center now, 5:10, still watching things and seeing how things are going within the radar echoes. See that severe thunderstorm warning still for parts of Clay and Putnam for another 5 minutes or so. See a little more action going on around Stark, and nothing extreme, but there is some lightning here, so you got to take that seriously, obviously. When thunder roars, you want to go indoors. Seeing some of that even a little bit closer to where we're at. So let's go ahead and pop up our camera now, as I am seeing some information now in the chat. Let me go ahead and make sure I'm reading this properly here before I go ahead and say it. They're now talking about the broad circulation is over the Pine Castle bombing range and moving southeastward there in Marion County. So that's something to kind of take note of here. And in fact, I'm going to pull up our Jacksonville radar once again. That circulation somehow finding a way to just barely stay in Marion County here. So let me go ahead and pop that up. Somehow we're further from the radar, so sometimes it's a little harder to actually see what's going on here, and sometimes things look like they're kind of moving a little bit. Maybe it's just the way the radar beam is kind of hiding things, but you can see here that some of this wind in opposite directions is something to watch there for the Melbourne office. You can see how the county's oriented. We'll go ahead and draw this out a little. So luckily, we should be pretty much done with this here in our area. That circulation, because even if it had to do south, it'd be out of the market, which would be good news. Maybe far eastern Marion with some stronger winds in there. We're coming really rural areas, so, and that's the good news. But looking here, another significant weather advisory coming out for parts of Gadsden, Jefferson, and Leon now. So watching that, we'll keep track of that, of course. Let's go back on over though. Let's go back on over to another radar view for just a second, going between some different modes. Let me now go ahead and pop our camera on, because I want to look off toward the west with some of this action toward Union County. See how things are looking out there. You can see some of the darker skies in the picture there as they're looking from Bradford into Union County right now at what's going on, and looking across Bradford, but you get the idea. What this is talking about, maybe a warning will need to be issued for the Tallahassee area here in the next little bit. So let me get our radar set up for that. Obviously, this is why we stay on. That warning for Clay and Putnam has been expired out now, so no active warnings, with the exception of the flash flood warning, of course, for us to actually stay on for though. But I may stick with this for a few more minutes to see if we need to be on here for a threat around Tallahassee, because don't want to be in a situation. Try to avoid this. Sometimes it's like playing a game of whack-a-mole though. I know James Spann in Birmingham, legendary chief meteorologist there, that's what he calls tornadoes in tropical environments, for instance, and even summertime storms, pretty much playing a game of whack-a-mole here as well though. So you just have to be kind of on guard here, as we are seeing a little bit of wind enhancement here, maybe weak rotation in parts of Leon County. Probably more just wind enhancement, but can't guarantee that. So we need to watch. This is more here looking off toward the northeast, but you're seeing a little bit of this right here and there. It looks like Highway 90. So we'll watch for this here. See what could come together over the next little bit out toward the Big Bend. You can see a boundary there, maybe helping to spin things or help that wind reach the surface. Nothing severe yet. They're talking about winds to about 40, and I agree. As the Weather Service in Jacksonville now talking about cells and clear back building toward Middleburg, and the sea breeze front moves through that area. That's something to watch here as well. We can gather more information in the Weather Center. Let me go ahead and check some more things. Give me just a second here. I see some heavy rainfall toward Flagler County. 3 inches or so there, maybe 3.5 inches even as we get toward Andalusia there in Flagler County in pretty short order. So that's something to kind of be mindful of as we're going between some of our different radar. There are quite a few flood warnings here in play this afternoon. That's the nature of things sometimes. Let's go ahead and switch on over here to, let's see, where do we want to take this now? They're talking about the accident and Clay may be back building, and this may be the case here toward parts of Bradford. I think that is the case here. So let's go over here toward our other source that we have, which is GR Earth right now. You can see some of this here, Southern Clay. Again, you see some of that kind of back building a little bit. Storms they're now talking about. Okay, so this is a heads up, guys. And I starting to see this. The Weather Service now thinks we're going to have storms develop near Laurel, Stark, and Hampton through 5:45. They're saying that here in the chat now, with some heavy rainfall, frequent kind of ground lightning, because there's a boundary here kind of causing this stuff to erupt. So let me go ahead and switch you over to a different radar because we'll be able to take you to the actual radar site. You'll probably be able to see this. I'll be able to see it too because I've been going between so many different radars. I haven't really been able to see this, but I think I can see it a little bit. They are now going with a significant weather advisory. Not a warning yet, but a significant weather advisory for parts of Bradford County as well as Clay, Putnam through about 6 o'clock here. I'm going to be tracking this potential as we are looking. So let me go ahead and switch you on over to that. We'll stick with this for a little longer to see what happens here around Bradford County. So here's that view. You see the loop. You see some of the action coming into the picture here around State Road 100 into toward parts of Bradford County. Just off toward the east. Some heavy rainfall for that evening commute kind of popping on up. So got to be careful if you're going to be headed home from work in Keystone up to Stark or vice versa. You're going to be getting some heavier rain here on State Road 100. So something to kind of be mindful of here as we are looking. So we're just going to continue to watch out there as you see some of that accent coming into view. That's now a more dominant accent, it looks like, versus what we're seeing. That our lusty accent seems to be a little bit weaker now. Seeing a little something here in Clay County. A little bit of wind enhancement there as we're looking not far from Middleburg as we're getting there, as we're getting toward parts of Clay County. So got to be watching here to see if something's trying to emerge out of this. The significant weather advisory just coming out from the Weather Service. That should be popping up any second now in our system here. It's covering parts of Bradford, Clay, as well as Putnam counties until 6 o'clock here. So I'm just watching for that. I'll go ahead and go over my other system here to read it down because I want to go ahead and give you that information as quick as we can. And this is going to be here for winds to about 45, maybe even a little bit more though. Possible with a storm near Camp Landing or near Middleburg, moving south at 20, but again it's back building. So Stark, Keystone, Middleburg, Georges Lake, Kingsley, Lake Geneva, Camp Landing, and Lodi under this threat here. So things kind of back building from the west now, and the south. Things can become so tricky here this time of year. In this environment, things can change rapidly, and with the boundary kind of coming on through, you can kind of see it. It's in here, right in there. It looks like seeing things try to kind of cause these storms to erupt a little bit more. We'll have to see exactly how much this fills in here. And let me check the temperature. We're down to 78 or 79, so we've fallen a pretty good ways here, which is good, but it still doesn't mean couldn't have some nasty weather here in this environment with this, but we have seen some cooling here, so that's always something you want to see as we look at Stark. Let me try that again, trying to underline Stark there, but goodness, we'll try that again here, folks, again as we look at things. You see Stark in here, so right around here where we're watching the axis. I kind of formed to the east here. You see some of the action in the west, more of the rainfall toward the west, lighter to moderate rainfall amounts. We have the heavier, more dangerous weather, the more lighting off toward the east here. So you can kind of see that. Maybe some of those stronger winds trying to mix on down here at this point as things again change rapidly as we talk about this time of year. So again, continuing to watch, continuing to track here, seeing how things are emerging. You see maybe some wind energy in here trying to emerge. It's not that far from where we're at here. So just going to have to continue to watch that. Now our camera's going to be looking in an opposite direction, but it looks like it's getting pretty dark out there. So let me go ahead and pop that up again. That could be pretty impressive. And decently so. Again, if we were looking off toward the east, I think you would see more, but this camera looks toward the west here still at that lighter to heavier rainfall, mixing in more moderate though, as we talked about over the last little bit. So again, this is looking more off toward, I guess you could say, areas there around State Road 100 going from Stark to Lake Butler, but still seeing some of the darker skies here in the picture, seeing some of that potential. So again, monitoring things. Might go ahead and take another break here. In some ways, I kind of hate to take a break because, okay, well, I see what they're talking about now here in the chat, folks. I think they're about to issue a warning. So let's go ahead and go over toward our other system now. A storm in northern Clay is rapidly developing. They're saying it may require a severe thunderstorm warning in short order. So we're not going to go anywhere with our coverage. At least keeping the stream going. May take a quick break to be ready for that. But we're talking about northern Clay here. And I might even clip parts of Bradford. So let me see that on our other radar because I think it's popping up so quick now. Yeah, it's popping up so quick. It's not even really popping that much on that radar because that takes a couple minutes to analyze things. Let's go to our other mode here. We were on it. You're kind of seeing this, but this is what we're talking about right here. This east of Lodi. Now, technically, this might not move in the direction of Stark and Bradford County, but we're seeing that back building. So we got to be cognizant of that. We got to be aware, and we just got a warning until 6 o'clock. So let's go ahead and let's see what we have here on the big board. That'll pop up any second. You'll see it. There you go. There's our warning. We're under where I'm at. And so obviously, good idea to stick with this. And that's what we're going to be doing for the next little bit as we have that severe thunderstorm warning now until 6 o'clock for parts of Baker, Bradford, Clay, and Duval counties. 60-mile-an-hour winds possible. So just got to be cognizant. Got to be aware here with this threat. Let's go ahead and pull up some of those safety tips now. Let's go ahead and pull up some of those safety tips. As we have a severe thunderstorm. Oh, excuse me. Ignore that, guys. I apologize. Let's try that again. I have different mouses here, folks. Different clickers we're trying to use, and sometimes they've been slipping on me a little bit here. So there you go. No tornado warning. Don't worry about what that was there. Those are the wrong precautions. But we're talking about severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Clay, parts of Bradford, as well as Baker and Duval counties in those six. There's no tornado possible tag at this point. So again, ignore what I had up there a second ago. This is a severe thunderstorm warning here. When thunder warned, you want to go indoors, seek shelter inside that sturdy building, and stay away from those windows. So continue to watch out for this threat here. We're monitoring things very carefully. We're monitoring things carefully as this storm's rapidly developing. There looks like around Hugh, give or take here. So let's maybe a little to the south. We're seeing some different things. Maybe more toward, they're saying near Middleburg. It's kind of that southeast of Highland there with some of the worst of this. So let's go ahead and pop up our other mode here. You can see some of that action near Hugh as we look from earlier to now. You see here near, it looks like as we get down to street level map and getting down here, some of these different roads not really popping up because they're rural, but we have Louis Carter Road in here. So again, watching things carefully as we're looking here toward western parts of Clay. We're seeing an upscale growth, I'm sure. Definitely seeing a lot of that. Goodness, it's really impressive here, folks. I mean, we're seeing that storminess really intensify quickly. That's why the Weather Service did what they did with issuing that warning. I know the temperatures are cool, and that's good in some ways. Maybe it'll prevent some of the action getting further west here, but we have the wind pattern kind of helping us here a little bit as well. That could be kind of an issue here for some of our different spots. So gotta be tracking that potential, obviously, as we do look here. Again, severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Clay, Bradford, Duval, and Baker. As we did get a gust at 33 miles an hour at about 5:15 in Keystone. So that's pretty high for being on the periphery. Let me see what we got here. Looks like the highest gust we've got here hasn't been too high, and that was before 5 o'clock. So that's some good news. But we'll keep our eyes on our wind gauge here to see how things go. Just monitoring things. We're just east of Stark here in the weather center. But as we're looking at things. You see Valena Boulevard in there. As things look like they're kind of diving on down a little bit. So I'm going to continue to watch all that cloud around lightning here in play as well. Again, a new severe thunderstorm warning until 6 o'clock. Report to Baker, Bradford, Clay, and Duval, especially Clay County. We're watching you guys. I'll be back in a few minutes. Back in the Weather Center now, 5:26 on the clock. We're tracking this area, really intensifying even a little bit more now. Weather Service talking here that the strongest core is near Highland and 301. So they're talking about this area right here, closer to you now. Things are evolving very quickly. So if you're under the warning, just be taking precautions. We're under a warning here too as well. So as we're looking on the east side of Stark, or just outside of town, really. So going to be watching things very carefully as we are monitoring the situation. You see Keensy Lake getting hammered, getting absolutely hammered right now by some torrential downpours in toward that area. So just got to be kind of mindful what's going on. And notice we just got our strongest gust here today. In the last couple minutes, 16 miles an hour, maybe a little stronger, a little lower height than what I would like. But we're trying to keep an eye on things here toward Bradford County. So let's go ahead and look outside once again. Give you that visual on the situation. There's our other mode. Just give me a second here as we switch you away from that. Of course, we're watching some different things here in the Weather Center. But wow, that really tells the story. I say good looking shot. I mean, not in terms of the actual necessarily conditions because those are very dangerous, but just seeing that, even looking from the east up toward the west here, I mean, this isn't even no severe area. We're just talking about storm clouds in general that look pretty vivid on the screen here, folks. So this kind of telling the story. In fact, I think I need to go ahead and let me manually adjust our aperture, I guess you could call it here a little bit, because it's kind of showing up a little bit strong even. So let me go ahead and take off our auto exposure, really where I'm going with that. You can kind of see a little bit better look at that maybe, where we're trying to give you an idea of how dark it really is out there. So keep an eye on that situation. You see the trees really blowing out there, kind of telling that story. So again, watching things carefully here. We'll keep you up to date on that, obviously, but just monitoring things carefully here. Severe thunderstorm warning in play. 4 parts of Bradford, mainly clay, western clay, getting absolutely hammered here. We're going to break in the cover. I'll see that radar one more time. As we'll be back here in just a few more minutes. So stay tuned here. Stay safe, folks, out there. Has some pretty nasty weather ongoing there as we're looking off Keensy Lake area. Excuse me. The Keensy Lake area there. You see some wind enhancement even as we're getting pretty close to Camp Landing, so we've got to be on guard here for this nasty accident. That yellow polygon, some of the worst weather we've seen in our area today, happening right now in western Clay County. Back with you now, continuing our coverage of this severe weather around parts of Bradford as well as Clay County here. Really seeing some nasty conditions within the radar echoes up toward the Highland area. I mean, even off toward other spots too, we're getting some pretty nasty weather as well. So, gotta be cognizant of what's going on. Taking a look at those echo tops. You do see here some really high tops, over 50,000 feet with this storm in it. So, gotta be aware some of this wind could be pushed toward the surface here. So, I know you just want to be taking those severe thunderstorm precautions. When that thunder roars, you want to go indoors, seek shelter inside that sturdy building, and stay away from those windows here. Very important information because we have a lot of lightning occurring. It's over a relatively rural area closer to the Camp Landon as we're looking right now. And then this to the north, though, east of 301. Some of the worst of this there around Highland and toward these parts of western Clay County as well. So it'll be interesting to hear if we get any damage reports out of this action. We're pretty close to some of these areas, so some of this action. So might end up getting some pictures of the damage if it is significant enough, depending on how close it is. Hopefully we don't have any damage where we're at, but it hadn't got here yet in eastern Bradford down toward areas. Looks like around Start Golf and Country Club, for instance, but we'll be watching, seeing if some of this can translate down. The way this is going, the way it has formed, I know I skipped some frames. I had to switch radar because we're following other weather too, but you can see here we have stuff. I'll put my mouse on even. Let me go ahead. We're not in front of the camera here today on this Friday, but I do want to kind of point out here, this is kind of dipping down, so that could be problematic to the east side of town here. Some of this stuff couldn't end up being cut off before it gets too far, but maybe Lodi, for instance, you guys might get into this here. We have to be watching you guys around Lodi. Well, this is a time about these storms being slow moving with some hilly terrain around, so flooding's possible in eastern Clay or western Clay and eastern Bradford counties. So gotta be cognizant of that here as we are monitoring this situation. There's now a flood warning input at 8:45. So let me go ahead and check that information here in the chat session. Again, seeing the information stream on out from the National Weather Service. And we'll go ahead and read some of that off for you now. West Central Clay, Central Bradford, 1 to 3 inches have already fallen. We're talking about, it looks like, as I get down on in here, Keystone, Middleburg, Camp Landon, and Kingsley. So, got to be watching out there in this vicinity. You can see some wind enhancement there right around Camp Landon, pretty much, it looks like here as we're getting out near Range Line Road. You see here Highland there. You see some of that enhancement within the radar echoes as well. That might be some of the strongest of this accident Weather Service has been saying as well, especially considering this is looking a little bit lower down and still hitting pretty high reflectivity values, maybe even some small hail mixing in here. Just got to be aware of that. Continuing to check with the Weather Service to see if anything is ongoing here in terms of some type of rotation. We're not seeing anything like that at this moment, which is good, but we'll continue to watch. Let me go ahead and take the mouse off for now. We'll switch you back over to the other mode here. Checking some information here. Warning to stick with you. This is, of course, parts of Bradford County that's being impacted with this threat. Especially the western Clay. They're getting worse in eastern Bradford County here, so that's something to watch. You know, over the last hour, you see these rainfall amounts really adding up there down toward the south. My goodness, 3 inches here as we're getting closer. It looks like towards Sharon Road there in Clay County. Where I'm at, we've barely got maybe a trace, a little more maybe than that now, but pretty much a trace at this point. So that's something to monitor here. I haven't run too much here lately. We're kind of overdue for some bad afternoon storm action toward eastern Bradford County. Hopefully today isn't that day, but it could be here to kind of achieve that. It's stuff that's unpredictable. We'll see how far this can get because it may end up not being too bad here, especially towards Stark. I still am skeptical on how things can translate off that way, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me go back on over to our camera. We're going to be looking off toward the west, not toward the worst of this, but I do want to pop this up just for the fact that it can still help us with some visuals. And that is dark. Look at how fast the clouds are moving. Wow. That really tells the story. That's easy to see. I'm going to switch our aperture again, or expose, or whatever you want to call it here. That's the fastest I think I've seen clouds move on this in a while. This is really impressive here, folks. Let me go ahead and change it over to the auto mode. We'll make that a little bit, that might be a little too bright, but you can see that cloud movement. Let's just leave it on the auto mode for now here, folks. I mean, again, watching that movement, that is impressive, folks. I mean, that's how it can be, though, when you have that storminess around, when you have those faster winds in the picture. Again, watching live here as the clouds just go on by in toward these evening hours. So, continuing to watch things. If a thunderstorm warning in play, I know sometimes it can get a little bright on us. So, just continuing to watch as we have these different color schemes kind of in play. I'll turn this back down just a little bit here. Again, you kind of get the idea with that movement. I mean, it's pretty dark out here. This may actually be a little bit more accurate representation of what the sky looks like here. Just kind of looking over. So, again, just kind of watching things pretty carefully here with this, telling the story. So, let's go ahead now. We'll move away from this for the time being now. Let's go ahead now and switch you to our GR Earth computer. We got that one up right now. Last hour in terms of rainfall. You can see down there parts of Clay County 3 inches here. Not as much in Bradford, but some spots here are getting close. It looks like to about an inch as we get closer toward the rest of there. So we're going to be watching that. You see Lusty over an inch, maybe 2 inches last hour in that vicinity. So you kind of see where some of the worst rain has been over the last hour. Even up toward Albany there. About an inch or two into toward Doherty County as well, kind of standing out. And of course, we're still watching that accident north of Tallahassee. Doesn't look quite as organized. We're on more of a composite type of view, but it doesn't look as organized right now. But we'll continue to watch because, of course, FSU could be involved with that, and the state capitol, FAMU there, TCC as well. But as we get back on over, you see that severe thunderstorm warning. When thunder roars, you want to go indoors. When it says just seek shelter inside that sturdy building, stay away from those windows. Again, it's that afternoon storm pattern, evening type storm, summertime storm pattern into play here. Let's check for rotation. Has been a little bit of something here. Now that's a cumulative. Seen a little something here. So let me check that. Make sure we're not getting anything to pop on us. I don't think so. That might be a little more alarming than it needs to be here because I don't know what this isn't talking about any rotation right now. So that's good, obviously. We're going to keep watching now. Keep on tracking here in the Weather Center. Now we're at 5:39 on the clock. Warning goes here to about 6. So we still another 21 minutes on this warning here. Looking at upscale growth, we're not seeing as much as we did earlier, which is obviously a good sign. Different spots, and it's more off toward the east here, so that probably be some good news for Bradford County here as well, especially more off toward Stark. We can't guarantee that, but just looking at things here, moving so slow, it seems like it'd be a little bit harder to get that down towards Stark here, but we're going to be watching western parts of Clay County around Keens Lake. There, Keens Lake, of course, they get into some of this Camp Landing. So, just wanted to watch things within our Doppler technology. You see some stuff in Central Florida, pretty strong toward Lake County. That's probably what we were watching in Marion County earlier. Let's check the radar toward Tallahassee. I'll pop that up here for us in just a moment. We'll switch over to where that viewpoint so we can get an idea of what's going on toward Leon County now. So let's go ahead and switch you over there. You'll be able to see what is happening with the overall weather scenario. No severe thunderstorm warning there, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. That's for our areas here toward Bradford, toward Clay, toward Duval, toward Baker, but we have a strong storm advisory per se, significant weather advisory for parts of Leon County for the next little bit. You see some wind energy as we switch on over. Nothing extreme in here, but some stronger gusts possible on a Friday night here. 30, 35, 40 miles an hour, so just keep an eye on that. You get the idea here toward I-10. Some of those stronger winds showing up in that vicinity, so continuing to watch things there. Continuing to give you the latest updates. Let's go ahead now. We'll pop away from this. Looking outside again, you see the clouds kind of going on by there. You see how fast they're moving. That tells a story about the active weather around. So just trying to give you another visual. That's even, again, looking to the west, not even where the worst of the accent is. But We'll go on over toward our other source now. You do see here, toward parts of western Clay County now. Western Clay County, seeing some of that wind enhancement here toward eastern Bradford. Not as much except for northeast Bradford near Highland. Pretty nasty weather around there. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continuing to remain in effect. Continuing to monitor things pretty carefully here. I think we're taking another break in the coverage, checking some other parameters here. The storminess may not be quite as strong as it was a little while ago, which would be good news, obviously, but we're not going to leave you with parts of Bradford County under a warning here unless we get knocked out by a lightning strike, something like that, which can't be completely ruled out. But right now, I'm not quite as concerned, maybe toward eastern Bradford as I could have been a few minutes ago, with the exception again up toward Highland, which they're getting some pretty nasty accent around there. So we'll keep watching, we'll keep track. I'll be back here in just a few minutes with more information as the severe thunderstorm warning continues here. Latest update from the Weather Service talking about that severe thunderstorm. The area was near Middleburg at 5:20, moving south at 15, but some backbuilding toward parts of Bradford County, something we're continuing to watch. Back with you now in the Weather Center, still watching things carefully. Severe thunderstorm warning in play at 6 o'clock. The latest update from the Weather Service coming on in to cancel out Duval in the last few seconds, but we still have parts of Bradford, northeastern Bradford, southeastern Baker, and northwestern Clay, really eastern Bradford, but the worst toward northeast Bradford there, and part of western Clay. Severe thunderstorm there located near Camp Landing near Middleburg, moving south at 25 miles an hour. So Keystone Heights, Kingsley, as well as Camp Landing and Lawdy under this threat. So continuing to watch the radar echoes here. Again, maybe not quite as impressive, but we're still seeing some divergent winds here. So something to watch out for indoor this area. Again, indoor part of western Clay especially. Seeing some heavier accent toward Highland now as we continue to watch our camera there. That's popping on up a little bit too. We'll keep our eyes on that as you see up for about 3 inches and/or parts of Clay County over the last hour or so down toward that white color there. Let's go ahead and move away real quick from our radar. We had the camera up a second ago. Let's give you another look at that And you can kind of see here the brighter skies, the darker skies kind of trying to mix on in a little bit here. So telling that weather story for sure. As we are now past an hour with this coverage, with this stream at least, trying to keep everybody abreast of the situation here with that warning in play. Again, continuing to monitor things very carefully within the weather center. We're going to go ahead and switch that exposure once again here, trying to see if we can give you the best viewpoint here of the sky conditions to give you the more accurate representation. Let's see the peak daily wind gust got set there toward looks like Gainesville there. They had a gust earlier of 33, broke the daily record from last year of 31 miles an hour. So that's kind of interesting with some of the accent around, with some of those gusty winds around in play as well. So that's something to watch, something interesting to see. I know a gust of 31, the most recent one, a higher one coming out of the Gainesville area according to our system. So that's worth noting here as well. But let's go ahead and look away here. From that, you see our rainfall estimates there within radar. You see some of our different things that we're watching. Looks like the Weather Service is talking here in the chat that the strongest cells moving there remain in the Clay, Baker, Bradford area and are drifting west with the sea breeze front, but they're really propagating west more than moving. As for again, not really seeing that much movement, so hopefully we kind of get some weakening here overall over the next little bit to kind of help decay some of this accent. We'll just continue to watch, so continue to track. Of course, if this was not severe, we would probably wrap coverage up, and you can go to cloudweather.com/radar if we're dealing with the strong storms around. Keep an eye on things there, and if another warning gets issued, we'll be ready to jump back on. And then Cloud_WRDX on Twitter will be the place to go as well. Gotta watch out maybe for some type of flash flood warning, maybe. We have the regular flood warnings. I don't think that's completely out of the question here if we keep getting the rainfall rates like they are here towards some spots really in toward western Clay County. Some of these spots haven't seen as much recently down toward the south, but it's something to watch. It's more rural, so that's helpful. This isn't in Orange Park maybe, or even in where Stark if we got this much rain like what we're seeing toward some of these spots. That'd be more concerning, but we'll continue to watch here. Some of these spots down there toward the south, 3 inches in an hour, according to our estimates there on State Highway 21. So definitely worth noting here, keeping you abreast of the situation. You see some of these winds there showing up, zooming out, continuing things, looking around here. Some accent toward Taylor County showing up, kind of interesting there. Accent toward Leon looks weaker. Most of the other accent looks pretty weak here. I mean, can't guarantee we won't get other warnings if stuff strengthens, but the accent here toward that Clay County area still looks the strongest as it's around that sea breeze front for now. Continuing to watch things you see there north of Laurie, some heavier accents, so gotta be aware here again. Not seeing much movements that could end up leading to some flash flooding here. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see as we've been talking about here over the last few minutes. Maybe seeing a little bit of strengthening again as we're looking toward the north according to some of our different algorithms. It's hard to say though for sure. We have to continue to watch things frame by frame as I go there. Maybe a little bit of enhancement there in the wind, but we'll see if this is a new warning or not. It's close. It's borderline, I think. They could go with one. They might not. We'll just have to wait and see here. The winds are diverging a little bit, so there's a chance we could be getting a little bit stronger wind to the surface. It's so rural as well. Maybe a little harder to get reports, so we do have Camp Landon in here. But of course, we have Keens Lake as well, so something to kind of watch there around Keens Lake. Just continuing to watch here. Let's go ahead and zoom back on out. You can see here rainfall estimates, keeping our eyes on those. So let's go take a quick break. I'll be back in a few minutes. back here in the Weather Center, still watching things around Kingsley Lake there and Camp Blandon, monitoring the overall scenario here with us copious amounts of light, and nobody should be on Kingsley Lake right now, so gotta really be careful there, as we have a lot of that, going on, as you can see. So, sorry about that. Just kind of double clicking there a little bit, but you get the idea. You can see all that lightning here in play. Let's go ahead and back this up just a little bit here. Of course, we've had the lightning, but we're just showing you that current lightning. And you can see earlier how things were kind of hitting the boundary there, and you can monitor things, how they come together in western parts of Clay County, and they're just really telling the story, the lightning strikes there, in terms of that storminess that is in play. So, gotta be cognizant of that. There's honestly not a lot to talk about right now, just because it's sitting over the same rural spots here, just east of Stark. Seeing maybe a little something trying to pop here as we're looking between Stark and Laudial on 301, but not seeing too much with that yet. So we're just going to keep watching to what the Weather Service does. Those rainfall rates here definitely adding on up. You see 1 hour rates there are getting higher in the parts of northwestern Clay County. So gotta watch that. Storm total amounts now getting higher. And here you see some of those upward to 3-4 inches. So that's what happens when you have rain sit over a rural area or an urban area. The amounts will just add on up, but when it's in rural areas, you don't have to worry as much about that flash flooding potential. So that's the good news, but you still have some flooding potential. We'll be here to watch things for you, so stay tuned. Back with you in the Weather Center. That lightning coming closer. Starting to hear some closer rumbles of thunder toward where I'm at here in eastern parts of Bradford County. So gotta be cognizant when thunder roars. You want to go indoors, and now we can't really do it here, but in some spots it might not be a bad idea to unplug some of those electrical devices just to be on the safe side here. You don't want them fried. We do have some backup systems here. I know sometimes lightning's just too powerful for those though, and kind of overtakes your internet, whatnot. But anyway, you gotta continue to watch things. You're seeing some of that lightning pop on that. That's not great right there near Stark. That's what we were hearing the rumbles from, I think, now over the last couple minutes. Sounded like they were in a little bit different spots. So there they are. That's very close to where we're at, by the way. So, again, got to be really careful, folks. We may lose you here. And if you do, cloudweather.com/radar, place to go. And then cloud_X on Twitter. Really not necessarily going to lose you maybe from a hurricane power outage. We have some things set up for that. But sometimes the lightning is just so powerful, as you know, very dangerous sometimes. And we're seeing some of that now towards dark. Let's take a look outside. You can hear it probably going to start to see some of that axillate. So let's go ahead and switch you over. This is more stuff forming towards dark now. Maybe not severe acts or even significant advisory type acts, and those kind of on the edge of one there. We're still watching things carefully. So let's go ahead. See what's going on here. There's a view outside. Doesn't look all that ominous, but we have some nasty weather in general. I see toward Putnam County, 2 miles northwest of Satsuma, over 6 inches of rain now having fallen in the last little bit, but it's got to be cognizant of that lightning threat as we continue to talk about here. Continue to watch some of our different modes here within our radar systems. So, again, we'll see if they issue the new warning. May or may not. It's close. They might be taking their time. They haven't said one way or the other if they're going to cancel, continue, but again, just looking towards dark. Some of that lightning is starting to occur right near town, right at 6 o'clock on a Friday. So that's a little concerning. Not severe weather, but just starting to see that little finger, I guess you could call it, try to organize. We were just showing you that on the radar a moment ago. Warning has gone away for the time being. Doesn't mean it might not come back up in a minute or two. But again, I just watch and see if we see some light in here. Maybe a little out of frame. It's close, but I just got to be watching here for this threat of that lightning danger. You can't lay your guard down. Just off the camera, we're seeing a little bit darker skies here, as you would expect based on how I have this situated, as in looking more off toward the north as you get to the east side and northwest, and then the southwest toward the left side of that screen there. So, giving you an update there. Watching some storminess. Thunder in the last few seconds hasn't been as impressive. As of now, no significant weather advisory or severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. I would think at least a significant weather advisory would be issued out for this area for sure. As we're looking toward parts of Clan Bradford, maybe not severe weather at this point, even though lightning can be very dangerous, but at least a significant weather advisory I think would be warranted. And that looks like that might be getting close to severe again as we're looking up toward the north here. Maybe why we're not hearing anything, because they might be having to drop another warning because I'm seeing something. It could just be the way the radar's hitting it too, but seeing a little something here as we're looking to the southeast of Hugh. I see a report about 5 inches there toward areas northwest of Satsuma. Seeing some of that wind, I'm going to be trying to translate back down to the surface again, east of County Road 217. So it's something that didn't want to give up really out there as we're looking in toward the evening hours. So again, see a couple strikes that's popping up around Stark. You see some of those alerts kind of go away there as we go back and go forward here with the coverage. I mean, I think we still have a flood warning. I know that went away, but we still have a flood warning here maybe in play. There's one to the south at least till 7:45. So let's go ahead and take a look here. That one here, yeah, that's the 8:45. So it's just kind of, sometimes our system likes to do that there. But no severe thunderstorm warning, flash flood warning, anything like that in play here. I know that warning toward South Georgia not on the board either, but some areas getting 6 inches today, pretty impressive. And again, definitely need some type of alert, either an advisory or, okay, they went with an advisory here. So let's see, that just came out. That goes till 7. So let's go ahead and talk a little more about the advisory here. There it is. You see that popping up. Watching now, goodness, up toward McClenny as well now, it seems. So that's never great. Getting more formation here. They're talking about a storm near Taylor. 21 miles north of Rayford, moving toward the southeast at 10 miles an hour. So getting some more formation here. Not seeing a whole bunch with that. It's more impressive what we're seeing down here toward, it looks like, areas around Long Branch Cemetery Road, for instance. So continuing to watch the different radar scans here in the Weather Center. This advisory Fort Lauderdale though in there, as well as Maxville, Kingsley, as we've been talking about. And Weather Service now talking that looks like we've got some different things here. I know Tampa office talking about something kind of maybe jumped down a little on the screens. They got to go down just a little bit for the information out of Jax, but convection now firing over eastern Baker with a 60 dBz core near McClenny. Might be some small hail in that area, especially north of the city. So something to warn you guys about there. according to the Weather Service, seeing something trying to get on going there as we monitor the situation. So again, checking up here, checking up in the chat, still seeing some pretty interesting wind signatures in northwestern Clay. So let's take a little longer with this. Again, like we did earlier, we don't want to go off and then have a situation where we need to be on pretty much imminently here to let you know about what's going on. Not necessarily a tornadic situation, but just watching pretty close here towards Stark with some stronger wind near Highland maybe trying to up as well. So got to be watching that here as we see some more action firing, some more boundaries having an impact. As you see near McClenny there, going back, going forward there. As we look toward Lordy, some heavy rain now falling right there as we're getting toward County Road 225. Eventually, some more that's towards Stark, maybe not the severe weather, but some heavier rain maybe trying to come into play as we are continuing to give you the latest updates. Looking at some different things we have here. Correlation coefficient not showing too much, it doesn't look like right now, so that's good. We can use that for either debris detection, which we wouldn't expect, or maybe some hail detection. Didn't see a lot standing out there at the moment. We'll keep our eyes on things. Keep our eyes on things in northwestern Clay. Maybe they think this is not really reaching the surface based on what we're seeing here with the radar orientation. At least a lot of this, but around Ed Burns Road, getting in there. It's not moving too much here with this, but kind of to see sometimes things will kind of move around here within the radar echoes. So just trying to see what else they're talking about in the chat. Just seeing what else they're kind of giving us an update on. You see the latest update within the radar echoes does show where some of that heavier rain is. Again, no active warnings right now. I'm just staying on a little longer because we're close to this here where I'm at in Bradford. Some of Bradford being impacted up toward Laurie, so I don't want to go away and then have a warning issue and then need to be jumping back on here in short order. And it definitely could still happen. It does happen from time to time. This time of year, there's not much you can really do about it. You have cloudweather.com/radar when we're not on. Cloud_WX on Twitter. Don't wait for me to come on to take your precautions. If you hear about a warning or even just hear thunder, go ahead and take your precautions. You want to go ahead and do that here. It's just to help you guide you through, especially the summertime acts, and we can give you better heads up here during the other scenarios that do arise with squall lines, things like that. We can give you a really good heads up on those generally, and even tornadic development like we did with Elsa. I mean, we told you an hour and a half before that tornadoes were evolving toward Duval County, over an hour and a half ahead of time, that we thought there were some things to watch. We even had a water spout in Green Cove area we told you about ahead of time as well. So just something you have to kind of monitor here, to monitor real carefully. As you do see maybe a little bit of wind enhancement here, even weak rotation possibly. And it kind of went away in the latest scan, so that's good. But we're continuing to watch, of course. Continuing to track. I think we're going to give it another radar scan or two again. I just hate to go away from the coverage because sometimes we have to do some different things on Twitter than we used to. I could just hit a button on there, but now I have to actually copy and paste some things to get us live on Twitter as well. So that makes it a little bit more challenging to get on in a hurry. So we kind of have to just be ready to go here because we can. And of course we do have the other outlets to get you the latest information here as we go between our different sources. I hear the rain picking up where I'm at now, so let's see if we can do another visual outside. Let's give you that. You can see some of that rain coming on down here now. Not really clear, not really heavy, but it is there. And it is something to kind of take note of, because you're not seeing as many breaks moving in the cloud cover to kind of affect our exposure here at this point. So again, just getting more of that rain to come on down as you would anticipate. I see a record high was tied out toward Apalachicola today. Interesting to see that in our source here, or in our system, I should say, with the source being the site there, obviously. So again, just reading about that, 95, record high of 95 was tied today, tied the old one from 2005. So seeing that information, we're also seeing some storminess here within our radar echoes up toward the state of Minnesota, even Maine today, but Minnesota may be a little more robust. Seeing some warnings up that way. Pretty stormy day up there with a severe thunderstorm watch. So let's go ahead and talk about that while we're on and just kind of evaluating the situation a little bit further. You do see here severe thunderstorm watch in play all the way to 2 eastern, which is 1 central. Pretty wide area there. You see there areas not far from International Falls under this, for instance. So going to be continuing to watch. You see Duluth, actually, Grand Rapids, and parts of Minnesota under this as well. So not Grand Rapids, Michigan, but Grand Rapids, Minnesota. So watching that there, Lake Superior, I think, in this too. So gotta be keeping our eyes on this scenario. Just giving you the overview here. Not many warnings across the country, but there are a few. On the board here. Looking toward the Sunshine State, no active severe thunderstorm flash flood warnings right now, Florida or Georgia, which is good. But we'll keep our eyes on things to see if things reemerge. Looking over the last 12 hours, you can see where the areas that have seen the most rain are. Luckily, this wasn't a little bit further off toward the west where we've seen some of this heavier rain, because then we'll be talking about Ocala, Gainesville, Stark in there. Instead, we're talking more out there around Camp Flannan to the south, western Clay. Some areas just eat the Keystone. 4 inches here, folks, and 4, 5 inches, 6 inches you've seen based on some estimates here, reports even. And then up toward the Moultrie area, we had that flash flood warning. You can see that area just to the south, a little bit of flooding there in that region as well. So something to kind of be mindful of is some of these spots still getting some rain, heavier rain than others. So you just have to be kind of aware, kind of cognizant here. You see Laude, Highland, Hugh getting into some of this. The worst staying away from Stark. We've seen some of that decay there. I talked about temperatures being a little cooler down here, which is good, down to 73 at the airport there, Keystone Airport. So that's good news, obviously. But we're keeping our eyes on the scenario here. Gonna zoom back out. I think I'm gonna check the radar again. Starting to see some strengthening here as we get toward McClenny. It looks like some of our echoes here trying to suggest that. Seeing some stronger wind in northern parts of northwestern Clay as well. So gotta be keeping our eyes on this situation. So let's go back on over now. Go back on over toward DR level 3. You see here the brighter colors showing up. Some of this may or may not be reaching down, but near Ed Burns Road, still kind of hitting a similar spot. You also see maybe a little bit of some divergent winds here near, looks like this county line. So we'll zoom back out, keeping abreast of this scenario. Hearing that rain come on down in Stark right now, Radford County, some heavier rain there as we get out toward 2:30 toward the east here. So just keeping our eyes peeled out there. Still out toward Lake Kingsley Lake there. You just don't want to be out and about with what's going on in that area. You're not going to want to be with the lightning or with that heavy rain, I wouldn't think, as we continue here to monitor the different radar echoes. Pretty impressive to still see some interesting wind signatures here, even with all this rain kind of falling over to similar spots. But sometimes you'll get that when you have a boundary here to kind of spark things up, causing some of that upscale growth. So gotta be aware of that. Zooming back out, we're at 6:11 on the clock here. Don't see too many gusts around, too impressive, but we're gonna keep watching things, keep tracking things here. I think I'm gonna get another minute or two. I see a gust earlier there, pretty interesting, some of these spots, but then also Lake Delancey there, they had heavy rain, over 4 inches, the east shore, 5 miles northwest of Salt Springs, so something that's kind of interesting there. Let's go back to the overview here. Still could get a warning, even as long as I've stayed on, we could still get a warning after, so I mean, as soon as they go off, I feel like we could get a warning there toward northwestern Clay or parts of Baker counties, especially maybe clipping parts of Bradford and or Duval in there as well. So that's why I hesitate to go away here in the coverage. We'll take a quick break and be right back to reevaluate. back here in the Weather Center getting those latest radar updates in. We just got a new update from the Weather Service as well, an aerial flood warning now. And it looks like another one coming out here. This goes further up toward the north where we have some of that accent parts of Baker as well as Clay, Duval, Bradford, and Union to 8:15. So just seeing a lot of different areas with those rainfall maximums. Where I'm at though, kind of giving that hit and miss nature, telling that hit and miss nature of things. Only about 1/10 of an inch so far, so that's the good news, I guess you could say. But seeing a little more lightning down in some of these other spots. Let's go ahead and pop that up. You can see some of that down there in the 301. We're just west of Hampton there, maybe as we look on in there on Hampton Lake, for instance, seeing one of those strikes. So let's go ahead and zoom out, though. You can see out toward northwestern parts of Clay. Maybe not quite as strong of a wind signature. Doesn't mean things aren't reaching, but I think at this point, let me check the chat once again here, make sure we're not missing anything. We could definitely still get another warning, don't get me wrong, but I don't think this is quite as intense as it was here, even up toward Baker County maybe. There is still a little bit better chance maybe of something up there getting a warning versus to the south, based on it sticking out, having a little more room for growth maybe. But we'll keep watching. If we need to break back in, we will. I just don't want to stay with this for hours and hours or so, I guess you could say, for storms that are just on that cusp of becoming severe but never really do again. So we'll be here, we'll be watching. If we need to cut back in, we will. If we just need to post about warnings, we will as well. You know there's flood warnings around parts of Bradford, so I'm not going to really post about those unless we get flash flood warnings or something more significant. Could get some more rain to kind of convert it on Stark. We'll see how that kind of goes here. We'll be, again, keeping you abreast here as necessary. I know Cloud_WDX on Twitter does end up tweeting out some of those flood warnings as well. I've decided kind of here over the last year or so not to put as many of those out on Facebook because we get so many of those in the Jacksonville area that are not flash flood warnings. They like to issue flood warnings versus flood advisories, and I know they're going to be changing the terminology probably looking ahead, but just kind of letting you know there. Just don't want to put out too many of those because sometimes they're pretty significant, pretty isolated areas. But this time of year, you get that to happen. It's pretty common here. You'll get some spots getting some excessive rainfall here from time to time around. So, of course, the flash flood warning is more dangerous, like what we saw toward Moultrie earlier, with more of a rapid or quicker water rise potential there. So, again, thanks so much for tuning in. If we get more warnings, we'll let you know. But for now, hope you have a great evening. If we need to be back on, of course, just stick with me. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.com/KCCloudWDX and Cloud Weather there. 2 different pages. You have Cloud Casey on Twitter. You have the YouTube pages. Search meteorologist Casey Cloud. Have about 25 subscribers or so there. You can get the latest video maybe on Roku, something like that. That's a good way to just pull it up. Just type my name in. You can watch me on Roku on your device, stereo connected device like that. That's helpful in these situations as well if you just want to watch me and my coverage here on a bigger screen. For now, thanks so much for tuning in.